Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Phil Arno. If you've been paying attention to events in this country or throughout the world, you may be thinking that chaos is the general rule. Inflation, war, tariffs, it all seems that no matter where we turn, there's a negative slant creeping around in the background. Well, a lot of that negative slant, I'm ashamed to admit, is because of the media. The 24-hour news cycle creates a situation where the media, both nationally and locally, have to throw out the most outrageous, the most negative doom and gloom one-upsmanship possible. When you look into what actually is happening, the picture changes a little bit. Gas prices are down, employment is up, peace talks are underway throughout the world, and our border is virtually secure after millions and millions of people flooding through for 4 years. Countries are coming to the table negotiating more equitable conditions for trade. All that being said, on today's Big Picture, I want to do a show that will inform you about something that presents stability here in Western New York. It seems to me that Buffalo and Erie County have mostly escaped the chaotic events we hear about all the time. The one entity different from all the others in this area that represents stability is the office of Erie County Sheriff. First of all, a little history lesson. Sheriffs, as law enforcers, have been around for quite a past. I mean, a long time. The first sheriff's office dates back all the way to the 800s in England. All this time, sheriffs have existed and evolved. A sheriff is the only, I repeat, the only law enforcement official who answers directly to the people. The chief of police is a political appointment at the pleasure of the mayor and the city officials. The top state police management, they answer to the governor. Sheriffs, on the other hand, are accountable only to you, the citizens who put him there. This is a proud heritage we're talking about. The office of Erie County Sheriff has been around since 1821. Grover Cleveland, before he was mayor, before he was governor, and before he was the only president until now to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, Grover Cleveland was sheriff of Erie County. Going back even further, Augustine Washington, none other than George Washington's father, was sheriff of Westmoreland County in Virginia. Sheriffs are a different breed. But rather than go on about this, I'm pleased to have the best source of information here today, the Sheriff of Erie County, John Garcia. Welcome to the show, Sheriff.
Thank you, Phil, so much for having me on the show.
Well, you know, the Erie County Sheriff's Office is responsible for an area that's over 1,000 square miles. We have 90 miles of lakeshore or shoreline that you guys are responsible for as well. Most people don't realize that the Sheriff's Office is a different kind of law enforcement entity than anything else that they can think of. Police, state police, you know, federal stuff. Explain to me a little bit about what makes the Sheriff's Office different.
Well, you said it very well that, you know, we are the people's law enforcement agency. I respond directly to the people, the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of New York, and it's an elected office. With that being said, you know, we cover, as a primary law enforcement agency, from Grand Island to Newstead, down to Sardinia, Brant, and the Seneca Nation of Indians. We're doing so with 177 sheriff's deputies, which is really a small number of deputies to cover that. In addition to that, Phil, we are a regional asset. As you said, 90 miles of shoreline. We have 2 Marine units that are in the water now, and they'll be in the water hopefully through November. And they're really the only proactive Marine unit out there. They're there to, what do? We help people in times of need. Okay. So, you know, I always say about law enforcement, we do more service than enforcement.
Right, and that's the point I wanted to make, is most people, when they think about law enforcement, they think about looking in the rearview mirror and seeing, right, you know, the lights flashing. Mm-hmm. But law enforcement is more than that. You guys get into serving the community.
Exactly.
There's a lot of services. I mean, the Marine unit, for instance, it's not just an enforcement unit. It's a safety unit. You guys inspect boats, and you have various services that you provide. And ATVs, you do the same thing for snowmobiles and ATVs during the winter. There's a lot of services that the Sheriff's Office provides that people don't know about.
Yeah, so let's say you're stuck on Lake Erie or in the Niagara River and you're a first-time boater, as there's many people that retire or say, I'm going to get the biggest boat possible, and they're stuck. There we are to help out. And that's what we do. And it doesn't matter where you live, your politics, anything. We're about serving the people of Erie County. We have the only air unit, Air One, that is an incredible tool, not only in helping with stolen vehicles, that we have no chase policies now throughout Erie County, also to find missing kids, elderly with dementia, boats that are stranded. They're a great tool for the Bills games and huge events. Then we also provide the bomb squad. Our techs are, you wouldn't believe, Phil, the amount of people that call in and they're cleaning their garage or the basement and they find a hand grenade. So it doesn't have to be in the area we cover. We're a regional asset. We're the only game in town, and we respond to that. We do pistol permit background investigations for, I would say, about 80% of the county. Everybody, for the exception of the town of Amherst and some smaller towns. Obviously, we do the Bills games, we do the Sabres games, Bandits, and so forth. And we're in the service industry. So again, the people are our customers, and we try to provide at all times the best customer service possible.
I talked in my intro about the negative news cycle and how you hear about a lot of bad things all the time. But on the other hand, you don't hear about some of the good things that happen that really people should know about. Like for instance, last December at Highmark Stadium, a couple of people had, their hearts stopped. These people were clinically dead for a little while. And there were some reserve deputies that came to the assistance of one man, Sean Kephart, Bernie Kosak, and Josh Pashnik. These reserve deputies worked on this one individual to get his heart going for 5 minutes before the paramedics got there. And they saved the guy's life.
Yes.
That's the kind of thing that happens all the time, for services and situations that people deal with throughout Erie County that the Sheriff's Office helps with and people don't normally know about.
Yeah. Well, I think good news a lot of times evaporates into thin air. We get so many letters complimenting our deputies and providing services, and it might be something as a broken down vehicle late at night, dark road in a rural area, and the deputy stays there with the citizen until help comes and so forth. Just helping out, as you said, at the stadium, we had a couple instances where people had cardiac issues, and our deputies jumped into action and so forth. But yeah, I do find where a lot of times, let me say, that good news is not sexy. Yeah. It doesn't sell, but I get letters, I get phone calls about what a great job everybody's doing. And obviously we have the other side of the house, Phil. We have 2 jails. Every sheriff will tell you in every county it's the best job in the world if it wasn't for the jail, right? So we have 2 jails, and that's something we want to take a look at into the future. They're over 30 minutes apart, and it's not like having a second home in Florida. It's like having a second family in Florida. So you're feeding, housing, medicating, providing services, very costly to the taxpayer. We have to take a very hard look moving forward into saving tens and tens of millions of dollars.
The news cycle always talks about crime, protests, kids occupying buildings and gangs and drugs and so on. Here in Western New York, I think to a great extent, we got great people here, and it's a tremendously good secret that we have from the rest of the nation. It's a great place to live. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think law enforcement-wise, crime-wise, we're in pretty decent shape in Erie County in Western New York. We don't deal, I mean, we obviously have problems, everybody does, but the state of law enforcement in Erie County, we're pretty well under control, aren't we?
Yes, yeah. We have the same issues that everybody else in New York State has. We had a tremendous uptick in overdose deaths. You know, the introduction of fentanyl into our country, into New York State, into Erie County, killed hundreds and hundreds of people. And that's something that I stated from day one, that we would be going after the people peddling poison, not the users, but those that are selling it, right? And on top of that, we also have, with bail reform, one of the things that happened with that is that people are not held accountable. So we have had a rise in property crimes. I've never seen anything like it as far as stolen vehicles and petty theft. People walking into stores, walking out. I don't even think the merchants even call, 911 anymore. I was just reading where Rite Aid is going out of business, and one of the biggest things was a tremendous amount of loss, theft that they're experiencing. So, that's not something that we can control. So what I do is we ensure that we get the job done with the tools that we have, the legislation that's in place, and by far, and this, I say this with all due respect to all law enforcement, we have a tremendous staff, the best staff around, because it's such a complex law enforcement agency with the jail management division. Then we have the civil division. We do all the paper work and everything that has to do with the courts and so forth. So that's another regional resource that we have for the entire county. And then, of course, the primary law enforcement, as you said, for all those square miles, and the largest security undertaking in New York State. Yeah. And that's a lot of people coming in. And as you see with the new stadium, they're going to hold more events. So that's something we have to take a look at. It's a great tax revenue, and it's going to be a great place. Those old Bills games at Rich Stadium where you're covered in snow and everything else, no longer, It's going to be like sitting in a suite or sitting at home.
I go back even further to War Memorial Stadium.
War Memorial Stadium.
Where you couldn't see to the other side of the stadium because of all the snow. Okay, well, we're out of time for this segment, but when we come back, I want to talk about some of the programs. Project Blue, the Yellow Dot, some of the programs that people may not be aware of that the Sheriff's Office, helps with. So, okay, we're going to be right back. Stay tuned, and we will talk more with the Sheriff of Erie County. Welcome back to The Big Picture. Today, my guest is Sheriff of Erie County, John Garcia, and we're talking about some of the things that you may not know about a sheriff's office, the programs that they offer and the services they provide. Some of the services that I read about, there's child ID that's done at various functions. If you want, you can have the sheriff's office come and provide services where kids can get an ID, in case they go missing, or if there's any questions whatsoever. It's an official ID, and it helps in various situations. It's a good thing. There's Project Yellow Dot, there's Project Blue. Explain some of the projects that you guys are involved with.
All of them are great projects. You have the Child ID project, and we have it at the county fair and at community events throughout Erie County. And it allows to have your child have a photo and a fingerprint. And, with permission, they go into a system. Let's say the child goes missing. And instead of trying to get all that information put together, Phil, we already have it. And we're able to put it out immediately. Very, very popular program. With the Yellow Dot program, the Yellow Dot program is you put a yellow dot on on your windshield or on your front door. And what that tells the law enforcement that's arriving on a call and sees you maybe slumped at the wheel, they know immediately to look into your glove compartment, and it has medical instructions and medication. You might be a diabetic. You might be having some issues that we now know immediately. The same if a neighbor calls and says, you know, I haven't seen John Doe or Jane Doe in days, and you look and you see the person inside the house, and you go inside. In the freezer, there would be information with your medical issues, and that allows us to immediately provide that medication to you, and tell the ambulance crew that's arriving. So it's always to get ahead of it. Both programs are to get ahead of it.
Right.
The other one that you mentioned, Project Blue, we have a lot of projects in the jail because what we're trying to do is we're not in the business of, we don't want repeat customers, right? So we have them for a very small amount of time. And in that time, how do we change their lives for the better? You know, a lot of people are addicted to opiates. There's alcoholism, crack cocaine. So we have a medication-assisted treatment program. We provide medication, but we also provide counseling, you know, because a lot of it has to do with mental health issues, which is an epidemic, by the way, Phil. Since after COVID, it's gone through the roof. We deal with so many mental health calls, be it out in the community or people that are coming in. And people, what they do is they don't have access to this medical care. And I'll tell you, if you try to find a psychologist, psychiatrist for a family member, a counselor, good luck. It's probably going to be about 6 months out. So people then, you know, you start using street drugs to mask their symptoms. So when they come in, we evaluate it. We try to change for the better of their life with the medication and so forth, the counseling. Project Blue, completely voluntary. All these projects are voluntary and people come in. We give them job skills. And now you have to remember the education level of many of the people that come into the system is unfortunately low. So, you know, whatever we could do, be it landscaping, culinary. We have a very popular culinary project that we do with Buffalo State University. Graduation day, we go there to dinner. They serve us dinner. Wonderful. We have employers that come out and hire them and say, I'll see you when you get out. It makes people feel better about themselves. We have a veterans program, you know, because, you know, our returning veterans, they have issues, you know, PTSD, anxiety, trauma, and sometimes they get caught up on the wrong side of the law. But when they come into our custody, Phil, everybody's treated like a human being. I tell all our people, treat people as you would want your family treated. And if there's something that we could do to make somebody better, so when they leave and don't come back, that's
you know,
a goal.
We talked about this a little bit before the show, and I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat, your thoughts on a lot of things. I mean, we have differences. Everybody has differences. But when it comes down to the basics, when it comes down to the values that most people have, it's common sense. And most people agree when it comes down to that very, very bottom line. Most people agree what makes sense, you know, what we should embrace as a population. And most people agree on that. And for those people out there who are thinking, well, you know, the Yellow Dot program, I've got some, you know, health problems, but I really don't need anything like that. You're not the one I'm talking to. It's your loved ones. It's the people who care about you. If you have a child with special needs, if you have a husband that's got heart problems or whatever, think about enrolling in the Yellow Dot program just because it's going to help them potentially someday. You know, they may not want it for themselves, but think about it because it's a service. And God forbid, you just never know when bad things are going to happen to good people. And I get that question all the time. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a way of life. It's just something that we have to deal with.
Mhm.
And to be prepared, that's half the battle right there. Because if you're unprepared and something bad happens, then you don't want to be looking back over your shoulder thinking, geez, I should have done this, and the outcome could have been different. So these programs, and Narcan, I mean, there's ways to get Narcan.
Absolutely.
If you have somebody that's, you know, a drug user, and you know that there's no intervention that's going to help right now, you need to do something that's, you know, imminently important in case they have a problem, an overdose, and you find them unconscious on the floor. Narcan can save their lives.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of these things we do to provide better service. And some people say, well, I don't want to be a part of that program because it's going to infringe upon my privacy and so forth. It's completely voluntary, Phil. So if you don't want to, you don't have to. If you want to be in the Yellow Dot program, you go ahead and do so. If you want to get the child ID, you could do so. If you don't want one, you could keep on walking by. But we have, there's advocates that say, well, you know, that's infringing upon my constitutional rights. We are not doing so. We are not looking to have a system with everybody in it.
There's no hidden agenda here.
There's no hidden agenda. We just started a program where if you have kids with autism or parents with dementia, something, and we have a system where you can voluntarily go online, put that information, so we have it in a 911 system. So you call 911, there's an issue going on, there's a teenager or adult with autism that's having an episode. We already know going in what is happening, because there's been incidents around the country where the police did not know that, and there was actually deadly force used, right?
Yeah,
so,
you know, people are behaving oddly, and the police have to interpret that.
Yes, but knowing ahead of time what we're you know, going to be dealing with allows us to better serve the public. But we had some blowback on that with people with disabilities. And listen, I am not infringing on anybody's constitutional rights. It's 100% voluntary.
Sure.
If you want to do so, you do. If you don't, you know,
Hey,
that's
it's
your
a service.
That's
it's
a service.
If you want to take advantage of it, God bless you.
I say put everything out there.
Yeah.
If you want to participate, you do. If you don't have to. That's the beautiful part about this country.
Okay, we've got about 2 minutes left. Here's the question I wanted to ask you. What keeps you up at night? What's your biggest challenge as sheriff?
So, you know, the more you know, the more it keeps you up at night. So I always think of this, you know, the jail, there's so many people in the jail. There's so much mental health issues, overdose issues that are happening out. They come in, you know, but I always want to be 3-4 plays ahead. But Phil, in this profession, you never know. It could be a bad person doing something bad or a good person doing something bad. You know, for example, we're going to observe on May 14th the massacre that happened at Tops. That's what keeps me up at night. Right. School shootings keep me up at night. The possibility. We're Buffalo good. We're Erie County good. Everywhere we go in the country, you know, you could tell Buffalo people and Erie County people, they're usually holding court. Everybody loves them. But when we come back, there's this divide. And it's political, and it shouldn't be that way. But what keeps me up at night is our kids being safe, school shootings, or a shooting that happens at a supermarket, something like that. That's my biggest fear, because how do you plan for somebody that comes from Broome County to Erie County? That's, you know.
And that comes under the heading of bad things happen.
Bad things happen.
And you can plan as much as possible. You can educate people, and you can offer services. But no matter what happens, you know, in this world, things will happen that you didn't plan on or that you don't want to happen. It's the nature of things. Some people just do things that, you know.
And it's my job to prepare for anything and everything. You know, we have equipment to respond during blizzard storms that killed many here in Western New York, and we have equipment. And if we don't use it, well, we have it just in case. a mass shooting, having a SWAT team that's prepared to go in there and stop that massacre. That's what we have to do, is always be prepared and have a good response.
Okay. Well, we're out of time, but one last thing, if there's anybody out there who wants information about any of your programs or has questions about the Sheriff's Office in general, how can they get in touch with the Sheriff's Office?
Obviously, we have a number, and we get right back to you.
Okay.
We get right back to you. Anybody that calls my office, we respond.
Okay, we will put the information up on the screen, and I would take advantage of it. You know, it's one of the services in Erie County that kind of stands out from all the rest. I mean, I've got Mickey Kearns in here for the clerk's office. He does a lot with the public. The sheriff's office is a little bit more of a mystery as to what they do and how they serve the community. But it's no less important, and the interactions are no less numerous. I mean, the sheriff's office deals with the public as much as the county clerk's office does, probably more than any other agencies in Erie County. So reach out if you have any questions, if you want any information. And I want to thank John Garcia for being my guest today. I want to thank you for watching The Big Picture. And I especially want to thank you for watching WBBZ-TV. We're your local TV station, and we appreciate it. We'll see you next time on The Big Picture.